Every AI company on Earth has the same dirty secret. The smarter their model gets, the more it starts to look like a bonfire. We are burning massive amounts of electricity, not to solve a problem, but to simulate something physics already does for free. That's not a metaphor, that's the actual engineering problem. Right now, training a single large AI model produces roughly the same carbon footprint as 5 cars driven for their entire lifetimes. And that's just training it once. Running it every day for millions of users? That number is so large, governments are reopening power plants, rewriting energy policy, and even reconsidering nuclear, just to keep AI running. Which raises a very uncomfortable question. What if the entire way we're building AI is fundamentally wrong? And what if the fix isn't a better chip, but letting physics do the computation for us? Let me give you the cleanest version of this I can. Think about how a light switch works in your house. You flip it, on or off. 2 states: clean, predictable. The light either turns on or it doesn't. No in between, no negotiation, no ambiguity. That is exactly how every transistor in every chip ever built has been designed to behave. On or off, 1 or 0, certain, predictable, controlled. And for decades, that worked perfectly. That rigid, binary precision gave us smartphones, the internet, cloud computing, the entire digital world we take for granted today. But then something fundamental shifted. The most valuable software on Earth stopped being about exact answers and started being about best guesses. When you type something into ChatGPT, it doesn't retrieve a stored fact. It doesn't run a formula and return a result. What it actually does is calculate probabilities, billions of them, across every possible next word. And then it samples one, randomly, based on likelihood. Then it does it again and again until the sentence is complete. Your entire conversation with an AI is nothing but structured, controlled randomness, repeated billions of times per second at a scale that is almost impossible to visualize. And here is where the whole system starts to crack. Our chips, every GPU, every processor, every piece of classical computing hardware ever manufactured, were built specifically to destroy randomness, to eliminate it, to spend energy ensuring that every transistor switches cleanly, with 0 ambiguity and 0 uncertainty. So now we have a situation where the world's most important software is fundamentally probabilistic, running on hardware that was engineered from the ground up to be the exact opposite of probabilistic. And to bridge that contradiction, our chips burn enormous energy faking randomness, running complex algorithms, cycling thousands of transistors, simulating uncertainty artificially when that same uncertainty exists naturally, completely free, inside the physics of the chip itself. We spent 50 years engineering randomness out of our machines, and now we pay billions of dollars every year to put it back in artificially. That is the problem. And China isn't waiting for us to solve it. China isn't trying to win the GPU war. They've already decided that's the wrong war to fight entirely. They're trying to make GPUs irrelevant. And thermodynamic computing may be exactly how they do it. Here's what most tech channels won't say out loud. The US export restrictions on advanced semiconductors, specifically Nvidia's H100 and A100 chips, were designed with one strategic goal: slow China's AI development by cutting off access to the world's best training hardware. No TSMC manufactured chips at advanced nodes, no access to the GPU supply chain that powers American AI dominance, no path to frontier AI without going through American-controlled infrastructure. On paper, it worked. China cannot buy H100s. They cannot manufacture chips at 3 nanometer scale. They are locked out of the most advanced semiconductor nodes in the world. But here's the strategic miscalculation hiding inside that policy. It assumed China would keep trying to play the same game, keep chasing the same hardware, keep fighting for the same supply chain, keep trying to catch up on a track that America has spent decades optimizing and controlling. They're not doing that. When you cut off someone's access to the highway, they don't sit at the on-ramp and wait. They start looking for a completely different route. And thermodynamic computing is exactly that. A fundamentally different architectural route that doesn't require TSMC, doesn't require cutting-edge nanometer processors, and doesn't require any of the supply chain that American export controls are designed to protect. It runs on standard CMOS silicon, the kind China can already manufacture domestically. Today, with existing infrastructure, no exemptions needed, no workarounds required. Now layer in the energy angle. China's biggest practical constraint in scaling AI isn't access to algorithms. Those are largely public. It isn't talent. They have plenty. It's energy. Running large-scale AI inference across a billion-person digital economy costs staggering amounts of electricity. Grid capacity is a genuine, hard ceiling on how fast they can deploy. A chip that delivers 10,000 times better energy efficiency on probabilistic workloads doesn't just help with that constraint. It eliminates it. You don't need the world's most advanced fab if your architecture is so fundamentally efficient that fab node advantage stops mattering. You don't need H100s if your chip handles the same inference workload at a fraction of the energy cost. You don't need to win the chip war if you can sidestep the entire battlefield and build sovereign AI infrastructure on hardware you already know how to make. This is the strategic play. And whether Extropic fully realizes it or not, the technology they are building is a potential master key to exactly that door. Which means the United States doesn't just need this technology to work. It needs it to work first, and it needs to own what comes next. To understand how this chip actually works, you need to zoom all the way down. Not to the data center, not to the GPU rack, all the way to the transistor. Think about highway traffic in Los Angeles at rush hour. Every driver is trying to cross the city, and the system keeping it orderly, signal lights, on-ramp meters, highway patrol presence, exists entirely to enforce predictable, controlled flow. Red means stop. Green means go. It works because strict rules are imposed at every junction, every interchange, every decision point on the network. But maintaining that system costs something real. Signal infrastructure, patrol resources, energy, coordination overhead, billions in annual maintenance budgets. All of it exists for one purpose: to impose order on a system that, left to itself, would find its own chaotic equilibrium. Now imagine a completely different approach. A city where, instead of forcing every car through controlled signals, the roads themselves were shaped to naturally guide traffic toward open routes. No signals, no enforcement. The physical geometry of the city does the work. Cars flow toward less congested roads the way water finds a drain, not because someone commanded it, but because the path of least resistance was designed in from the beginning. That second city is thermodynamic computing. Inside every transistor in every chip running right now, in your phone, in your laptop, in every server, in every data center, electrons are in constant motion. They vibrate, they collide, they drift randomly, driven by heat, by the basic thermal energy of matter at room temperature. Engineers call this thermal noise, and for 70 years, the entire semiconductor industry treated it as an enemy to be defeated. The solution was always the same: overpower it. Push enough voltage through the transistor that the noise becomes irrelevant. The signal dominates, the switch behaves, deterministic order wins over physical chaos. It worked, but it costs energy, every clock cycle, continuously, forever. Now here is the question that changes everything. What happens if you lower the voltage instead of raising it? At high voltage, there's a strong energy barrier between the transistor's on and off states, like that concrete highway divider keeping lanes separated. The thermal noise rattles around but can't cross it. The transistor behaves predictably, but reduce the voltage and that barrier shrinks. Now the thermal energy, ordinary room temperature heat, nothing exotic, nothing that requires engineering, becomes strong enough to push the system across the barrier on its own. Sometimes the transistor flips to 1. Sometimes it stays at 0. Not because of an instruction, not because of a voltage command, because physics made a decision. The transistor stops being a switch. It becomes a dice. Engineers call this a p-bit, a probabilistic bit, And here's what makes it genuinely powerful. You can steer it without locking it down. Think of a weighted coin at a Las Vegas casino. A fair coin is 50-50, but weight one side slightly and you shift the probability. Not enough to guarantee an outcome, but enough to tilt the odds meaningfully over thousands of flips. A p-bit works identically. Nudge the voltage slightly upward and the p-bit becomes more likely to land on 1. Nudge it downward and it favors 0. But it never locks in. It never stops fluctuating. It keeps sampling, continuously naturally driven by physics at 0 additional energy cost. You're not commanding the transistor anymore. You're biasing the probability. Now connect thousands of these p-bits together with weighted connections, each one nudging its neighbors, shaping the probability landscape of the whole system. You encode your problem as an energy map, correct answers at low energy, wrong answers at high energy, and you release the system. The p-bits fluctuate, they influence each other. The system drifts constantly. But low energy states are easy to fall into and hard to escape. So without calculation, without instructions, without step-by-step logic, the system naturally settles near the best answers and stays there. You don't compute the solution. You watch physics find it. This is what Extropic is building. Their first commercial chip, the Z1, packs 250,000 probabilistic bits on a single die. Early results claim up to 10,000 times better energy efficiency than today's best GPUs on probabilistic AI workloads. Not 10%, not twice as fast, 10,000 times. And now remember everything we said about China. A 10,000x efficiency advantage built on standard manufacturable silicon doesn't just change AI economics. It makes the export ban structurally irrelevant. Now the honest part that the pitch decks skip. The noise that makes this system powerful is also what makes it treacherous at scale. Pack 250,000 probabilistic elements onto one chip and they don't stay independent. Signals bleed through the substrate. Bits that were supposed to fluctuate freely start whispering to each other through the hardware. Unintended correlations build. Hidden patterns emerge that you never designed. Think of a sold-out crowd at the Super Bowl. You want 70,000 people reacting independently, genuine, uncoordinated responses to what's happening on the field. But the moment one section starts chanting, the whole stadium follows. Suddenly, nothing is independent anymore. What looked like individual signals is one giant correlated wave. That's the crosstalk problem, and at production scale, it doesn't stay subtle. Then there's the software wall. Every framework, every optimization tool, every technique in modern AI assumes deterministic hardware. None of it runs here. You need entirely new algorithms, new abstractions, a new programming model from scratch. Nvidia spent decades building CUDA into the foundation of AI development. Thermodynamic computing needs an equivalent, and needs it in years, not decades. The window is not open forever. For 50 years, computing was a war against physics. We declared thermal noise the enemy. We overpowered it every microsecond of every computation. And we built the most powerful digital civilization in human history on top of that approach. But the problems we're asking machines to solve now were never deterministic. They are probabilistic at their core. And the hardware we're using was built for a world that no longer exists. Thermodynamic computing doesn't try to win that old war. It asks whether the war made sense in the first place. If this scales, the AI energy crisis ends. Export controls lose their strategic teeth. And the next leap in machine intelligence doesn't come from better lithography or bigger data centers. It comes from finally letting physics do what it was already doing. If it doesn't scale, it becomes the most elegant, most principled dead end in the history of computing. But either way, someone is racing toward that answer right now. And the country that gets there first doesn't just win the next round of the AI race. It rewrites the rules of every round that follows.